Have you ever thought about what players we should watch closely during spring practice? I mean, we've gone through a lot leading into spring practice, but let's dig a little bit deeper to figure out what players this time of year can shake things up.
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Buckeye fans? Welcome back to another episode of Locked On Buckeyes, part of Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jay Stevens, also the host of the Jay Stevens Podcast. It is Wednesday, March 15th in the year 2023, and this episode is brought to us by FanDuel Sportsbook, official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn today to get started. During this episode, we will discuss the commitment and why Chris Holtmann committed to the Ohio State University over the foreseeable future. But before we get to any of that, during spring break week, we are right smack dab in the middle of it. I thought it would be a great time to kind of refocus, kind of recalibrate our minds a little bit before the boys get back on the field next week. And when doing so, it's a little exercise that I did myself on trying to figure out who we should watch more closely during spring practice. Yes, leading into this time of year, we had a list of players on offense, players on defense, and went through a lot of them over the past 2-3 months in regards to why this year is important for this player, why this year is important for that player. But let's kind of recalibrate a little bit more and get more of a focused approach to this exercise. What players should we watch closely during spring practice? I think that's a real question that many people have in their minds. Yes, we've already seen 2 practices or witnessed them and got to read and listen to a lot of what's gone down. And you can't go through any of that without looking at Kyle McCord and Devin Brown and saying, these quarterbacks, they're really, really good. They're really, really talented. The thing I like about them so far, they conduct themselves like you would want someone who was QB1 at Ohio State to conduct themselves. But let's dig a little bit deeper. Let's focus in on these 2 guys. Now, I know you're educated. I know this fan base is one of the best in the country as far as being the most intelligent fan base out there. And so when I think about this little exercise here, let's really remember you're naturally going to put a lot of attention into Kyle McCord, Devin Brown. Naturally. You know what the quarterback position means. You know that Ohio State's been fortunate, and Ryan Day specifically has been fortunate to have a transfer in Justin Fields for a couple years, to have C.J. Stroud start for a couple years. Really, really fortunate to have 2 guys that are going to be top 10, 11 picks in the NFL draft on your team during the first 4 years that you've coached at a school. That's fortunate. Getting back to 2018, 2017, when he joined the Ohio State coaching staff, he had J.T. Barrett and Dwayne Haskins. Let's just be honest. Ryan Day's been really fortunate. And this might be the first time since 2018, well, really the first time as a head coach, that the quarterback competition is not one man in the front, and he has to really, really fall to not win that job. I truly believe Kyle McCord and Devin Brown, they are guys who can win the job. Realistically win the job. 2 guys that are really, really talented. 2 guys that I think you would want running your program, calling the shots and the offensive calls for your favorite football team. I think you would want that. But let's make sure we go through this and we do not have a biased opinion. Now, I understand if you're a family member or a close friend of one of these 2 individuals, you may be biased. And I understand. If my brother was playing at Ohio State, I would probably be a little biased. Not going to lie to you. It's natural. We grew up together, only 3 years apart. So we got to see a lot together. And I'd be a little biased. Not going to lie to you. But let's not try to take the biased glasses off. It's hard. Really, really hard to do. But let's try to take those bad boys off and realize, may the best man win. Now, I do think Kyle McCord has the upper hand, not just in skill set, but also he's been there longer. He knows more about what Ryan Day wants, knows more about what Brian Hartline might want, with Hartline being the OC this year for the first time. This is new territory for Hartline Day with Hartline as they coach together and for these two quarterbacks. So that's one thing. But I do believe these two quarterbacks, you want to watch them closely. Because in the fall, as we get closer, and during the spring game, that's going to be before the fall, and as we get into the start of the season, you're not going to be surprised if Kyle McCord or Devin Brown shakes things up on the field, or if they make some ooh and ah plays, and if they wow you with how intelligent they are and how well they conduct themselves. Why? Because you took the time to watch closely what they're doing right now during spring practice. I'm going to tell you for myself, I am personally focused on what's going to happen over the next couple of weeks. Yeah, the spring game is great, April 15th. I'm looking forward to it. I hope you are as well. That's great. But practice, man, like perfecting yourself in practice and having better practice habits and working on those every day and making them better, those make you a better player, a more well-developed player, a player who is more ready for the game and the day that is in front of you. And so I get saying he was saying practice makes perfect. I don't really abide by that because you have to practice good habits, and doing that over and over makes you a better player. If practice makes perfect and you are let's go basketball, you're a 35% free throw shooter. No, let's not go that bad. That's atrocious. Not even Shaq is that bad. Let's say you're a 68% free throw shooter and nobody comes into practice to help you. Nobody comes into practice to show you, hey, man, maybe your elbow's here, or maybe you're not bending your knees enough, or maybe spread your feet out or bring them in a little bit to adjust your stance. Oh, bring the ball a little bit. Like nobody's telling you. Nobody is telling you how to get better, but you start practicing the same way over and over and over and over. The next time you come around, you go down to a 65.8% free throw shooter, and the next season, a 61.3% free throw shooter. You're wondering what's going on. Well, ultimately, you're practicing the same things and you're making better, or let's say perfecting the things that you're practicing, which are not good habits. So let's say that person who starts out at a 68% free throw shooter, they come out and say, oh, I got a coach. He's helping me out. 68% goes to 69.2. Okay, 69.2 after year 2 goes to 72.5 in year 3. Year 4, you go to 77.3. Now you may say, Jay, that's not a realistic jump. But if you're practicing things that make you better and improving every single day, that will make you better as a player. And I do believe Kyle McCord, Devin Brown, as long as they stick to that mindset and making sure they're getting better every day, I believe Ohio State will be A-okay at the quarterback position in 2023. Those are a couple guys to watch. One position, two guys. What about the rest of the guys on my list? I got a few more for you. Guys, we all need to watch closely during spring practice. We'll go over them next. This is Locked On Buckeyes. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. The midway point of the NBA season is here, and now the perfect time to download FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because new customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's bonus bets back if your first bet doesn't win. Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Then you can bet on everything from the money line to point scorers and threes drained. Plus, FanDuel even lets you combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with a same-game parlay. So don't miss the chance to get your no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon to learn more. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. Locked On Buckeyes, and I do believe this is the first time the podcast is having their own bracket challenge. Go to and download the ESPN Tournament Challenge app. When trying to join a group, just join Locked On Buckeyes. That's the group. The group will lock. You will not be able to enter or exit the group at the start of the tournament on Thursday at 12 noon Eastern time. So go to the ESPN Tournament Challenge app. It's free to join. We're going to have fun. You're going to be able to brag and talk trash and say, hey, I had a better bracket than the host of this year's podcast. It's unfortunate that the Buckeyes are not in the tournament this year. It is fortunate they'll get to enjoy basketball in this way over the next few weeks. Go to the ESPN Tournament Challenge app. My bracket's already in there. Join the group. Join the fun. Join the madness of March. We're going to have fun talking trash and bragging and trying to see who among listeners and viewers of this podcast has the best bracket during the NC2A tournament in 2023. The NC2A tournament is fun. What's also fun is a player that comes into Ohio State that can shake things up on the offensive line. What's also fun is guys that are at Ohio State currently at the skill positions that can shake things up as well. Let's start at the skill positions because I do think this is going to be get a lot of attention. And I'm not talking about the freshmen, receivers. Not focused on Noah Rogers, Carnell Tate, Brandon Ennis. I'm not focused on those guys. I'm not focused on a lot of the guys that didn't get a lot of run last year that were backups. I'm not focused on those guys. But there's one guy in particular, Jayden Ballard. I keep hearing a lot of good conversations about this young man, about how well he's respected amongst his peers, about how the coaches view him, and about how if he's on the field and when he's on the field, this young man can splash and make some huge plays. And if the top guys aren't, Marvin Harrison Jr. or Emeka Egbuka, Julian Fleming, if they don't keep working hard and getting better every single day, they better watch out. Now, I'm going to pause right there. I don't think Marvin Harrison Jr. is losing his spot. I think Emeka Egbuka is good. Julian Fleming can be, but if Jayden Ballard comes in and is starting to make some big plays, and honestly, it doesn't just start with the pass catching and the running over the routes and getting off the line of scrimmage and eluding defenders on the field. Ultimately, it also goes with how well do you run block? I know receivers don't want to talk about run blocking, but as a coach in Ryan Day, and I believe a coach in Brian Hartline, who want to have a more balanced attack on offense, ultimately, run blocking is key. And so when it comes to a receiver, I really do believe Jayden Ballard on the outside can shake things up a little bit. Now, do we see 4 wide receiver sets? Do we see a third receiver who is rotated? What do we see? Do we see him back in the return game? What do we see? Ultimately, I do believe this young man can shake things up at Ohio State during this time of year. Another one is someone that I have been high on for a very, very, very long time. And I even talked more about him. After he switched back to his original position that he played in college of running back, Chip Trainum. I mean, he could easily be the backup running back at Ohio State. Now, I don't think he'll be named that going into the season because I do believe the coaches have a huge love for TreVeyon Henderson. I don't really care, man. I don't care about the love they have for him or anything like that else that's going on. If he's not productive, and that's productive, but the offense flows better with the backup Chip Trainum on the field, this young man better watch out because Chip Trainum could be the backup running back at Ohio State. Ultimately, that might be the best thing for the team. We didn't get much look at him last year, but when we did see him on the field, he looked really, really good for someone who was on the field for the first time, getting touches and carries at running back for the Buckeyes. Think about a full offseason back at running back. Think about a full offseason back at a position that you love. Think about a full offseason at a position that that truly has the competition at it. Not really talked about as much, but has the competition at it. And think about this. Tony Alford realizes this is a pivotal year for everybody. I mean, all the coaches at Ohio State. Ryan Day, it's a big year for him too. Oh, that might be the topic for Friday's show. This is a big year for a lot of people. I don't think Ryan Day's getting fired just yet, but I do believe this is a big year for him. And Tony Alford realizes if these running backs are going to get better, if the offense is going to be a more balanced attack and be the best offense in the country, you might want to get a backup running back in there who can do some things consistently. I think Mayan Williams is RB1. RB2 is up for grabs. TreVeyon Henderson, Dallin Hayden, Chip Trainum, go fight. Go fight for that spot. Go do it every day. Chip Trainum is someone that I truly, truly believe if he plays his best ball, I mean, truly his best football over the next couple of weeks and leads into it to playing his best ball in the fall, I truly believe this offense will be in a better spot than if we get what we have seen from TreVeyon Henderson over the past year and a half. Beginning of Henderson's freshman year was really, really good. I mean, really, really good. Still broke some records. That's great. Still not sold on him, man. I am not sold on him at all. Ultimately, Chip Trainum, hey, buddy, go win that spot. My eyes are on you. We're watching you. go in the spot. We'll come in here and talk about it and discuss what happens and maybe rejoice a little bit because we're happy for you because you have been putting in the work. Another guy who's been putting in the work, who's a transfer from Louisiana Monroe, Vic Cutler. Now, Luke Whippler is out. The guy who many people believe will be the starting center at Ohio State is Jacob James, but he is ultimately out right now with an injury. Vic Cutler coming in. You got Matt Jones and Donovan Jackson at right guard and left guard, respectively. You're probably going to have Josh Fryer at left tackle, Tisha Bola at right tackle, and then there's another one, Zen Mahalski, I believe, is the other right tackle that's fighting for that spot. But that center spot with Jacob James out, there's a transfer in Vic Cutler who looks like at least physically looking at him on the football field, looks like the body of a center in college. Now, do I think he's ready? Is he strong enough yet? I'm not sure. I haven't seen him play enough football. I've heard people say that they think he needs to work on some things and really ramp things up quickly to get up to speed with this level of football. I don't know all of the ins and outs. I don't know, and I don't think most people listening don't either. But what I do know is this. If Vic Cutler comes out and he starts doing this thing, I mean, the spring game, if we go ooh and ah at the center with a starting unit, and y'all know we don't ooh and ah the center at all. Like, how many times do you remember a great play? Do you remember 5 great plays from Luke Whippler? Probably not. Do you remember 5 great plays from Josh Myers, former center at Ohio State, or even Harry Miller when he was playing at Ohio State? Probably not. It's not known. It's not normal. But if Vic Cutler comes out there and he's like, ooh, ah, we are like, ooh, ah. If he's like that, buddy, telling you, this young man can surprise some people with what he does at Ohio State in the fall. It's fun. You got Devin Brown, McCord, Vic Cutler, Jayden Ballard, Chip Train, and players that we need to watch closely during spring practice. What's your list? Who are you watching closely on the offensive side of the ball? Leave it in the comment section of this video. Let's start the conversation here on Locked On Buckeyes. A conversation that Chris Holtmann is trying to put to rest is if he's going to leave Ohio State or if he's committed to the Buckeyes. He recently made a comment stating that he is committed to the school in regards to an open coaching spot in the Midwest. Who is it? What school is it? We'll discuss all that next right here on Locked On Buckeyes. Sports betting is now legal in Ohio, and Locked On has the perfect show to help new in-season gamblers. Download and subscribe to Locked On Bets for daily picks and analysis wherever you get your fine podcast. Some of you have been wondering and maybe hoping that Chris Holtmann is no longer the coach at Ohio State. I've wasted no time discussing my disapproval, my disagreement with a lot of the decisions that Chris Holtmann made this season. I have wasted no time discussing my disagreement and my uneasy feeling with how Chris Holtmann has coached the team and the lack of development and in certain areas at Ohio State. And so I am not shying away from Chris Holtmann, Ohio State tenure, what's going on, why I think it'd be wise for Ohio State to move on from Chris Holtmann. Some of y'all don't like the news that I'm about to discuss, and you may have already heard the news that Chris Holtmann made a statement and a comment about why he is committed to Ohio State, and he is not entertaining the head coaching job at Notre Dame. Notre Dame's the spot that's open. Mike Brey, longtime coach at Notre Dame, recently stepped away, and I believe he's the winningest coach in Notre Dame men's basketball history, which is a great accomplishment. Mike Brey, a good coach. Would Notre Dame be in a good spot if they got Chris Holtmann? Maybe. I truly don't know. Chris Holtmann staying. Okay. You're committed. How committed are you? How committed is Gene Smith to you? Seems like Gene Smith is really committed to Chris Holtmann, and it may take a new AD coming in to alter the program path with Chris Holtmann over the foreseeable future. But, man, I don't know, man. Like, I want to be positive. I don't want to be negative. I want to just come on and say, ooh, this is great. Ooh, this is great. Ooh, this is great. But I don't know, man. Like, I understand you want your coach committed to use it. So, here's a positive. You want your coach committed to you. You want your coach committed to the program. You want your coach to help you be the best you can be and help your team win all the games, make a deep tournament run in the NCAA tournament, not the NIT or the CBI. You want that. But at the same time, If you have a track record, I ain't going to look at the lack of success in the tournament. If you have a track record of having dead balls periods during the season, not to say dead ball periods, you can win games during those times, but the ball is stopping and the production is stopping, and you're losing games that you should win, and guys are standing around on the court, not moving around and not running the offense, something needs to happen. Now, to Chris Holtmann's credit, I do believe he made 7 straight NCAA tournaments prior to this season. You say it's a blip. 2020, they canceled the tournament. He still would have made it in that year as well. So I understand everything that's going on with everybody saying, oh, Chris Holtmann, he's good. I ain't satisfied. I am not satisfied at all. Here's Chris Holtmann and a statement he made in regards to the program and in regards to some things going on with him. This is something that he made, a statement he made back at the end of February, but it's still discussing the commitment that he has to this program. Quote, I love it here. I love it here. And Gene and I have been very open about our plan in terms of moving forward and what our plan was after last year with somewhat of a rebuilding roster. What that was going to look like, how young we were going to be, our commitment to playing young guys, to backing it up with another young class, end quote. Holtmann and these young classes, okay, cool. Okay, great. Chris Holtmann recently in a statement said, quote, I'm committed here. No, excuse me, end quote. That was not the right quote. Looking at something different. He said, I'm committed to being here. Okay, Chris Holtmann, great. You can't always rely on young players. We learned that from John Calipari. He tried the one and done thing, won a natty, good for him. But ultimately, you can only ride young players for so long. Chris Holtmann this year, I don't think I even recently saw that he wasn't really the biggest reason why or the biggest motivator to play all the freshmen. Someone had to motivate him to play all the freshmen. Now, I was a little skeptical about the decision at the time, but then when you realize the season's basically over, makes sense. Play the young guys, get them some more run, help them get more prepared for next season, and help everyone involved. So playing all the freshmen, Felix Akapara, Bruce Thornton, Bryce Sensabaugh, Roddy Go Jr., I think the Buckeyes are in a pretty decent spot going into next season based off how the players played at the end. I mean, you win 5 of your last 7 games. That's a huge accomplishment after only winning 1 of your previous 15 games. That's great. I want my coach to be committed to the school. That's what I want. At some point, you got to pull the plug and say, this connection is over. So for Chris Holtmann, great. You're committed to Ohio State. That is great. Not going to Notre Dame? Okay, great. Well, I still think Ohio State needs to move on from Chris Holtmann. I think it's going to be the same song and dance over and over and over. Might win 19, might win 20, might win 21 games. Ultimately, you ain't going deep with Chris Holtmann. You're not doing that at all. Also, there's some things that I'm going to talk about maybe on tomorrow's show in regards to how Chris Holtmann can make this roster better right now. We're in the midst of the transfer portal in college basketball. It opened on the 13th, just a couple days ago. There are already 170-plus players in the portal. I believe that happened even shortly after the portal opened on Monday. Chris Holtmann can help this team get better immediately. We'll discuss more about what he can do with the basketball team leading into the next season tomorrow on Locked On Buckeyes. You can follow me on Twitter at jsteven07. We're out of here on a Wednesday. Couple more days left. I'm excited to discuss the defensive stuff with you tomorrow. Today was all about the offensive players we need to watch. Tomorrow's all about those guys that play defense for the Buckeyes and what we need to watch from them going forward. Remember, download the ESPN Tournament Challenge app. Join the Locked On Buckeyes. Just search Locked On Buckeyes on the app to find the bracket challenge for the podcast. My bracket's already done. I'll throw that bad boy out on Wednesday. Can't let you know who my Final Four picks yet. Actually, I'll unveil that. We'll say the Holtmann stuff for Friday. I'll unveil my Final Four. I'll unveil my national champion at the end of tomorrow's show. We'll just be able to compete over the next few weeks to see who has a better bracket during the 2023 NCAA tournament.